easy.
Coach, you called this the most disappointing win of your career. Your last two jobs could be classified as rebuilding jobs. Do you feel the pressure in this one to do more than just get results?
Well, the word isn't pressure. It's our own expectations. It's the expectations we put on our players and on our staff. And we really wanted to play better, especially for the Trojan family, for the fan base. You know, the Coliseum was electric. Our crowd was awesome. The band, everything. And then we come in there and don't play as well as we'd like to. So that was part of the disappointment, being the home opener as well.
You also called it a flip-flop game from the Hawaii game. Did the offense get complacent after that great first week?
Well, we didn't play very well, that's for sure. And so we'll go back to work this week. Just like we said, just like the week before, I said one game will not define our defense, one game will not define our offense. Either way. And so, we need to go back and we need to play like we did versus Hawaii on offense this week and like we did versus Virginia on defense.
What did the defense improve so much from week 1 to week 2?
Oh, we tackled much better, and we lined up a lot better. We really played a lot more sound from start to finish, and we got tired again at the end. The fourth quarter we gave up a drive there. We've got to find a way to play more players. We all know we don't have very much depth, but even with that, we've got to rotate guys because our guys are just getting too tired because they're playing every snap.
Penalties, obviously the story of the game. You taking a new approach this week on how to fix that?
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, we're obviously extremely disappointed. Again, we talked about it before the game, every meeting during the week, and then again at halftime, and then after the game. And so we got nowhere to go but up, that's for sure.
Offensive line was obviously at the core of that. Butch Lewis couldn't really explain to me what went wrong after looking at the tape. Did you guys find something with them? Yeah,
we really had a bad first quarter. Settled down and played decent up front after that, but the first quarter was a disaster. And very critical penalties. We got penalties that weren't off of incompletions where they declined them. We got penalties off of big plays that had to come back.
15 incompletions this week for Barkley. Was it drops? Was it just no rhythm in the offense? What was different after such an efficient first week?
Yeah, he didn't play as well, and we didn't play as well around him. We didn't block as well for him. We didn't catch as well for him, and then he was not perfect by any means. He needs to continue to improve. Just like I said last week, that was one game that he had played. And there's some very critical plays in there. If we don't hold on Ronald's 50-yard touchdown, and then if Matt makes his worst throw of the year on another deep ball, it's going to be a 78-yard touchdown. So those two plays are really, what take that game from being the way it was to being a lot more what we'd like it to be.
Brandon Carswell's sort of moving up in the pecking order a little bit. A surprise touchdown catch. Two things on this. One, what has Brandon done after being hurt most of camp to get going again? And two, does this put Markeith Ambles in a possible redshirt situation since he didn't really get in much?
Yeah, well, Markeith already played in the first game, so we're going to look to expand his role. He had a good week of practice. He needs to do it again this week. But Brandon was doing things right. He was being consistent, and so we've talked about that all the time. We're going to play the players that are the most consistent, and so we're very excited for him to score his first touchdown as well as Jordan. That was Jordan's first touchdown too. So both guys had never scored.
Yeah, your tight ends, 2 games, 2 touchdowns. Carr's doing something right, huh?
Yeah. Kerry Colbert's the coach of the year so far.
You got 1 turnover. Still, you've talked about returning to days when you were getting a ton of turnovers. Is it the lack of pressure on the quarterback that is keeping you from really getting your hands on the ball a lot?
Yeah, we're not getting the ball out of the ground. Regardless of that, in general, the turnovers and interception. We're not forcing fumbles. We just got to keep practicing. We got to improve on it.
On the good side, you didn't give many big plays. Certainly no deep balls like Hawaii. Was that something that changed schematically, or were the guys just more focused on it in the secondary?
That was the big focus of the week. Limiting big plays, keeping our depth. We were too aggressive. With our defensive backs versus Hawaii, and so make them drive the length of the field and make them screwed up, and so we did a pretty good job of that for the most part.
In particular, in the secondary, 2 guys stood out for me. Nikhil Roby is getting picked on a lot. They're throwing a lot in his direction, but much better this week. What do you think? He just got comfortable after 1 week of action?
He played a lot better, and we didn't play him as much on special teams, and then and we rested him for a series on defense. So. He went from 64 plays, from the week before he had 90-some plays. So, and the heat in Hawaii versus the night game here. So all that went into it. And he's becoming more comfortable. He's still a true freshman.
TJ McDonald, maybe the defensive standout of the game with all the tackles and the pick. Is that more what you expected from him? You've been high on him and Starling throughout camp. And
Yeah, he played extremely well. 14 tackles for a safety, an interception. Really was physical. Really liked the way that he played.
We don't talk much about punters, but in an ugly game, Jake Hoffman stepped up.
He did. He played really well. Again, he punted well in the first game too. And our coverage units are playing really well. Our punt coverage has not given up 1 yard of a return yet through 2 games, so they're doing a great job around them.
I heard you recanted and that you think it was not a great call on that fake punt. What was the verdict on that? What did you see?
On the penalty?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a penalty. As you go back and read the rule book, if they're in a kicking formation, which is no one the ability to take a snap from center and someone deeper than 7 yards, you cannot cut in any fashion regardless of the play. So the refs made a great call.
Your leading receiver in terms of yardage was freshman Robert Woods. Your leading rusher in terms of yards per carry was freshman Dylan Baxter. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a great thing, and true freshman too.
Yep.
That's a really good thing, and hopefully we'll have a lot more of that. If your freshmen are doing that and you're winning games, that's a good thing to happen, especially early in the year, so that by the time you get to the harder games later in the year, they're not making freshman mistakes anymore.
Back on the road for the next 2, is that good or bad? Does it help the guys to focus, help you to get their attention when they're on the road and away from maybe some distractions here?
There's good and bad to both. There is no distractions when you're on the road, but we love playing at home. We love playing in the Coliseum and continuing the great streaks that have already been started there. So these will be 2 long road trips here after already having one in Hawaii. 3 or 4 games on the road and long road trips. So we're going to have to do a great job.
Shortens your week a little bit. You leave on Thursday again. Is it difficult? You really don't have a lot of time, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then early practice Thursday, to try and make all these improvements that you really want to make.
Yeah, it does shorten our week. It speeds it up. But at the same time, too, I like the fact that, we go a day early, and so it's longer that our team's just together with no distractions, and it's one more night that we have them. We have them Thursday night instead of them being off on their own.
The obvious question everyone's been asking, Minnesota's off to a tough start. They barely survived Middle Tennessee State. They lose to South Dakota, I believe. Are you worried about your guys overlooking them?
Sure I am. Those scores mean nothing. You start comparing scores and from one week to another, just look at our offense and defense, the way week 1 and week 2, teams change all the time. Kansas last week scores 3 points and loses to North Dakota State, I believe, and then comes back this week and beats a top 20 team. So you can't get into that and underestimate these guys by any means.
The one name we know, Adam Weber, I believe, returns at quarterback, experienced quarterback. You feel like he'll really test you guys out again in the secondary, more so like Hawaii did.
Yeah, I think so. He's played really well. Has started a ton of games. Had a great year, I think, 3 years ago now. So he's been playing for a long time.
Did you get a weather report yet?
We're playing there at the right time.
Do you think that they are ready for that complete game? You called it a flip-flop game. You had the good offensive performance, you had the good defensive performance. Are they ready for that complete game, that perfect game?
Well, the good thing about that is it shows we can do it. Where your big concern would be if it was one side of the ball playing well in both games and the other side not playing well. At least we've shown we can do it on both sides, and now we've got to bring it all together, and that's our challenge.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Good.
Thanks, Coach. Thank you, sir. Yep. So tomorrow,